The Securities and Exchange Commission has issued updated sustainability reporting guidelines aligned with international standards, with a tiered approach beginning this year for covered entities. ESGPedia is a digital ESG data and technology platform headquartered in Singapore that supports corporates, small and medium-sized enterprises, and financial institutions across Asia in managing and reporting on sustainability. Well, with us now for more on People, Profit, Planet is the Vice President of ESGPedia, Jozsef Acabo. It's good having you here, Joseph.
Morning,
welcome
Kathy.
to the program and welcome back to Manila. Let's get you the big picture first. We have entered 2026 with wars, with supply chain shocks, and a community that thinks the U.S. leadership is weakening the momentum that we've had in ESG. So given all these, do you think the ESG pressures are easing on corporates here in Asia, or do you think they're merely taking another form and shape?
What we're seeing is that it continuously growing, primarily driven by policies and regulations being updated, specifically across Southeast Asia. Philippines is not really far away from other neighborhood countries. And with that and being the supply chain of the world, the ability for us to really rely on transparency is helping actually the region to separate itself from what's happening from around the world.
All right, so we got our own thing going here in the ASEAN, and we're not really far away, as you said.
We're not really far away, yes.
I mean, could you quantify that? Because we are the supply chain of the globe, and the SEC has opted to take a tiered approach.
Yes.
Some sort of a transitional phase when we talk about Scope 3, which is the most important part, because the value chain really encompasses the biggest part of the emissions of any corporate any company. And yet it's so hard to track.
Yes.
Isn't that right?
Yes. The regulations that we have now in Philippines is pretty much almost the same with Singapore, Thailand, and Hong Kong, where the mandatory regulated and audited information for reports will start this year for Tier 1 companies, which is to us here in Philippines is 50 billion and above, and then followed by second tier and third tier. What's different is that the large non-listed are also included in that tier 3, which means now if you're not a listed company, but you are 15 billion revenue and above, then you must actually start now.
Must start now. I'm wondering what kind of conversations you're having now with clients from, say, compared to 2 years ago, when it was simply nice to have, and it's now becoming a hard requirement in terms of market access and financing.
Right. The major difference from 2 years ago is that, again, yes, you are right. It's becoming more marketing related and investor relations 2 years ago. And not primarily financial impacts and climate impacts. Now, we're talking about climate impact, obviously, financial impact because of adopting PFRS S1 and S2 for this upcoming regulation. And the reports will need to be audited. And that's the most important part. So, meaning sustainability risks now are treated as financial risks. And therefore, companies, regardless of what tier they are, when they report this information publicly and to the regulator, they must have that information accurate.
And that's where the problem really starts, doesn't it? I mean, the collection of data, it's got to be verified to be able to tell which supplier you'd want to take on and which supplier applies to sustainability guidelines. I mean, how does that work out then if we can't even get the right data?
The technology plays a big role in that one because when you collect information and when you need to assess suppliers in the full value chain, you need to at least have a system in place where process and the suppliers will have their ability to provide the information primarily. And second is that for them to have the visibility of their own data as well. Right, so imagine we have a supplier where supplies just one item in a grocery retail chain, as an example. if they have their information and their carbon footprint and their impact to the full value chain shared to them as well, then that starts how they would improve their service, for example, or improve their raw materials and products.
And
as
it gets
well.
harder for the SMEs, the MSMEs, micro, small, medium-sized enterprises, because they act as vendors to these big companies. And if big companies take them off the vendor lists because of sustainability requirements, then they lose business.
Yes, and not just that. When we're talking about existing or new free trade agreements coming into the country, then we're talking about investments from other regions to the Philippines and back and forth, right? And so that is a good indication of whether SMEs should look at reporting sustainability as a strategic move for them to really differentiate themselves in competition.
Well, it's got to start somewhere. I mean, the big guys, big companies can show the way. They got to embrace this transitional phase now to Scope 3. So what should they be doing now to ensure that no one gets left behind, including their suppliers down the line?
I think tighter inclusion of the full value chain should be there. We're still seeing big companies that are struggling in ensuring systems are in place and effective. Technology plays a role in that one, but also capacity building for SME. We're seeing more and more tier 1 companies now are initiating capacity building for SMEs, telling them that the sustainability is really a strategic approach rather than a compliance checklist. And if that continues, plus SME would understand that this is a tool that they can use so that they can be competitive, and then systems are in place, meaning technologies are in place, tools are laid out properly, then that would differentiate Philippines actually in terms of engaging the full value chain across the region.
And what about the SMEs? I mean, where do they begin? If you were to advise now the SMEs here in the Philippines, how do they engage and how do they rally their troops within the company that they gotta go this way or they won't be able to sustain themselves going forward?
Right. They can start with communicating openly with the clients or big clients that they serve, right? At the end of the day, the SME is a business that provides value for big companies, right? So they can start with that, openly communicating how they can be different, how they can contribute to the bigger value chain for their clients. And if not a portion of SME does that, openly communicates and openly initiates programs or asks questions, just simple as that, that conversation will take a big step for the full value chain and of course for the economy as well.
And that full value chain takes us to the regional level. We've got Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia. They've got their own thing going with their sustainability standards. How then do we align, get our small, medium-sized enterprises to do business as seamlessly as possible as these changes happen, as they also try to update themselves with Scope 3?
If we are to compare the involvement of government and financial sector is important. For example, Singapore would have their various grants for SMEs to encourage them to embrace sustainability initiatives, right? So simple as moving to green energy are incentivized. And we're not seeing that mostly here, but the ecosystem plays a big role.
Why is that? Why are we not seeing that here?
I think when the regulation is just signed like last month, right? So we're looking at setting up the pieces together, and we're in the right track. Of course, they have their policies set way before this, 2-3 years ago, and so that plays a big advantage to like countries like Singapore.
Do you think the flood control scandal might have pulled us back a little bit?
I'm not sure, but I don't think so, because 2 years ago we could have set the policies in place, right?
All right.
But I think the bigger picture is that the readiness of the enterprises and SMEs,
All right.
which is also the same as other countries as well, because you have to look at the readiness of the ecosystem and the community rather than just putting policies. And that's the right way to do it.
Now or never it is for the corporates and companies. Thank you so
Thank you,
much,
Patty.
Joseph. Appreciate
Thanks.
your
Thank
insights. Jozsef Acabo of ESGPedia.